We're bringing the Sunday No Huddle here on the road in Charlottesville, Virginia. Marlee Wierda joined by Robert Rosenthal from IlliniBoard.com as always. And Robert, this is a loss that feels familiar.
Quite familiar. Every time in the last decade going on the road for this September road game, I mean, we're not too far from the campus at North Carolina where this similar kind of game happened. At Washington in 2014, this kind of game happened. It just seems that Power 5 road game in September always has this similar result.
And I think the least thing that Illinois wanted to do was get off to a slow start. How did the slow start affect them heading into the rest of the quarter in that first half?
Yeah, when talking about the game, the coaches had been mentioning how it's 10 a.m. body time for, this is 11 a.m. Eastern, so, it was an 8 a.m. game on the Pacific Coast. So they talked about it saying, we got to be ready. We're going to get on a sleep schedule. We're going to be ready. And then that first 5 minutes just seemed like it was not even close to ready. And that set the tone for the entire game.
Do you think that exploits some weaknesses in the Illinois defense and particularly their secondary?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, let's not forget that they do have Rod Smith on staff as an analyst who knows this defense, who went against this defense for several years. And so when you have something like that and they bring him in as an analyst, he's going to know where the soft spot. He faced these same defensive players. He knows what they do well, what they didn't do well. So, you have to think, especially in those first few series, that they were game planned specifically against this defense.
Yeah, and I saw him standing over on the sideline after the game, had a little bit
right.
of a grin on his face.
That's an interesting scenario, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure he likes to be on the other side now of the Illinois loss, so to speak. But with the defense, they had a couple chances. There was a Jake Hansen forced fumble, Kirby Joseph interception. They had chances to turn it their way. Why do you think they couldn't get it done?
Yeah, it was one of those games where it just kept hanging right there that, the fans of Virginia are probably thinking, like, this should be a 35-0 game, and somehow it's 21-14. So it just kept hanging there, even though the yards weren't even, nothing was even. There were missed field goals. There was an interception at the 1-yard line. It was still there for the taking, deep into the third quarter, but yards-wise, when you get outgained by this much, eventually it's just going to fall apart, and they just put the pedal down, and that was the thing.
Why do you think Illinois is experiencing this kind of loss that maybe they've had in seasons past during the Lovie era and before? Why do you think they're experiencing it now in the Bret Bielema era?
Yeah, when you go on the road, especially that first road game, it's rough. Everything is different. That first road game always seems to be, we saw it from Nebraska in the opener, that it just feels different and you're not in your bed and it's, a different locker room getting ready. So there's always been an adjustment to that first road game. And then, you have a first-year coach putting in his schemes and trying to do something versus, this coach who's been here a while and is starting to establish what he wants to do. He has that quarterback. He has the receivers he wants now. And they said, okay, I'm looking at this tape. This is what we can do. We can exploit the soft spots in this defense. And they did, to the tune of over 400 yards passing.
And do you think this is a wake-up call, Robert, for how far Illinois needs to go now if they want to be a program like Virginia?
Yeah, I think it shows the weaknesses. It shows where you don't match up one-on-one, that if these receivers, if that kind of tight end can give you such a problem, you're going to have the kind of linebackers who can cover them. You're going to have if they're going to run this star position, this nickel position, they're going to have the guy who can run that. They need to recruit to what they need to do to stop an offense like this. And right now it's just, it's a bit of a mess. And when you go on the road and you're a bit of a mess and you're still trying to figure out the new scheme, it can get out of hand quickly.
Are there any positives you can take away from the mess that it was, as you said?
Yeah, I mean, you started to see them turn to kind of some of the future guys, right? We saw Josh McCray get a lot of carries in this game. You saw even the freshman receiver Pat Bryant come in. You saw DJ Johnson, who was one of, the recruits that Bielema added right when he got the job were Josh McCray and DJ Johnson. He went out and found some guys that were still available, signed them to that recruiting class, and he's using them immediately. So you get this hint of, here's what we want to do, here's the kind of players we want. that starts down the road, but it's probably a pretty long road between there and looking like Virginia looked today.
Sure. And another big play from Deuce Spann. He seems to be the go-to guy in some of those moments.
Yes, I mean, I kind of make jokes on Twitter of saying, like, okay, run that one play again, because it's worked in all 3 games. He gets behind the defense, and, you know, he probably did score a touchdown on the Nebraska catch that was ruled out at the 1, so he probably has 3 long catches for 3 touchdowns, basically, in his. You know, he moved to receiver in late August, so he hasn't been a receiver for even a month yet. So it's quite an interesting. He's a great athlete. That's why Auburn offered him in high school. That's why he had all those high-end offers, and they're taking advantage of that early.
All right, Robert, thank you so much. As always, you can find more from Robert on IlliniBoard.com. That's going to do it for us here at Scott Stadium. We'll send it back to you.